everybody, it's Katie, and I wanted to pop on today to make a quick video to really speak to those people who are going on the Sinclair Method to drink less alcohol or quit drinking, and they're at a point where they feel like they don't know if this method is working for them, whether they've been on it for a few weeks or a few months. And they say, I get this message a lot from people where they say, nothing's changed in my relationship to alcohol. There's been no change. I'm drinking the same amount. I've been on the medication for, weeks or months, and I've seen zero change. I want to speak to this today because I think, I really feel for these people who are in this place where they had hoped that this method would work for them, and they're at a place where they feel like it's not working. Just to provide some tips and insight that I have seen through my own experience and also working one-on-one with people the past couple of years about how to overcome this place where you're at, where you feel like, I don't know if this is going to work for me. So I want to first preface this to say, the Sinclair Method is not 100% effective for 100% of the people. It's shown to have an efficacy rate of about 78%. So 78% of people who go on it for changing their relationship to alcohol do see success with the method. So it's not going to work for 100% of people. But I will say, when people reach out to me and express that it's not working for them, I almost always see opportunities for improvement where we can identify that it actually is working, and perhaps they're not recognizing how it's working, and then also how they can make it work better for themselves. So just to begin with, I want to say that when you go on this method to drink less alcohol, the changes that you see are often going to be very subtle. And what happens a lot with people is that they dismiss these small, subtle changes as really insignificant and not signs that the method is working for them. When in fact, that's exactly how the method does work for a lot of people, is that the changes are often gradual and subtle. You can think about it like if you're wanting to lose weight. If you want to lose 20 pounds, you're not going to lose 20 pounds in a matter of a couple weeks. You're going to lose it really slowly and gradually, a pound here, a pound there. And so the same thing is true with the Sinclair Method. And I think it's really important that people, when they feel like they're in this place of it not working and there's no change, that they take a pause and really take a step back and examine their relationship to alcohol and really try to identify if there's any area that has changed at all since they've started on the medication. Some examples of this could be, that they're drinking a little bit more slowly. Maybe they would drink 2 drinks in 30 minutes before this method, but now they're drinking 2 drinks in an hour or in 2 hours. Maybe they're starting drinking later in the day. Maybe usually they'd rush home and have a drink right at 5 o'clock, but maybe now they're not drinking till 7 or 8. Maybe they used to day drink on the weekends and now they're not day drinking, but they're drinking in the evening. Maybe they're thinking about alcohol a little bit less. Maybe they notice they don't enjoy the buzz as much. So these are just really a few examples to illustrate that point. There are so many other ways that our relationship to alcohol can shift on this method, and so it's really important not to dismiss those little changes as insignificant, but instead to really recognize them and celebrate them, because that shows that it is working for you, and these changes again are going to be really gradual and subtle, but that's how it builds and builds over time. And that's why, honestly, most physicians I know will recommend people give this method at least 9 months to really see big changes and results. And so that is one piece I want people to be aware of, that the changes on this method are often very subtle, and it's really important to take a step back and really examine all of the ways that your relationship to alcohol may be changing, even if it's just small ways. The second thing I want to talk about is using alcohol as a coping mechanism. This is so common for people, myself included. When I was drinking so heavily for so long, I used alcohol to cope with everything, to cope with a stressful event, a hard day, someone who I was in a fight with, chaos in the world, whatever. Especially right now with coronavirus, I see a lot of people reaching out to me saying, I'm drinking more now than ever before because of the pandemic and being locked down, which I totally understand, and I empathize with you. But the piece that is really important to understand when you're on this method is that the medication can work really well to kind of quiet the cravings for alcohol, so you might have less of a desire to drink, but on the same token, you really need to be proactive about building up more coping mechanisms, healthy coping mechanisms that are not alcohol related. The medication will not do that for you. And I see often where people, they'll still continue to drink out of habit, just because it's what they've always done to cope, and they want that quick fix, that kind of numbing after the end of a hard day, and they're still kind of looking for that. Even though they want to drink less and they're on this method, they're still looking for that quick fix. And so in my perspective, alcohol really weakens us. As humans, we're naturally built and able and equipped to be able to cope with really stressful, hard days in life. If you think back to when you were a kid, if you had a hard day at school or your parents didn't let you do something, you didn't reach for alcohol to cope. You would do other things. You'd go outside or play with friends or whatever you would do as a kid. And as an adult, that's the same for us. We're naturally built to be able to cope with these challenging things. But when we rely on alcohol over and over again, what it does is it weakens us and makes us then depend on it in order to cope with challenging things. And in my, experience and myself and working with others, our ability to cope is really like a muscle. Like when you go to the gym, the more practice you have with using different tools other than alcohol to cope, the easier and easier it becomes and the stronger you become, and it becomes more like second nature for you. And so this is a big part, I think, where, again, people are still looking for that quick fix, or they need a way to cope at the end of the day, and alcohol has been there for them for a really long time. And so it does take some proactive effort to start practicing with new coping mechanisms. And the way that I did this, that I think has worked well for me and works for others as well, is that you really start to challenge the trigger you have to drink. So say you get home at the end of the day and you just need something to numb out and you just want to escape whatever you're feeling now. And it's really easy to, again, just to rely on alcohol and continue to go to that. But I know that's not satisfying for a lot of people. And so just to really start to challenge that knee-jerk reaction need for alcohol and try something else. Try working out, try taking a bath, try getting a good meal, try watching a funny movie, taking a cold shower, moving your body, cranking up some music, all these different ways you can just try new things in order to cope with that feeling of just wanting to kind of escape, and just try it out. And you can tell yourself even, if this doesn't work, if in 30 minutes, I'm not feeling more relieved, then I can take the Naltrexone and have a drink. But just to really start to challenge those knee-jerk reactions to the triggers you have, just to really start practicing with new ways of coping that are not alcohol related. And again, starting small, just giving yourself a chance to try something else. And if it doesn't quite work for you, or you really still want to drink, then you can comply with taking the Naltrexone and drinking. But making a commitment to yourself to try that every single time, to not just go straight to alcohol, but give other things a try. And what happened with me and what I see happen with others as well is then that those things start to become more nourishing and more helpful, and before you know it, your coping muscle will begin to grow, and you'll start to go to these things as coping mechanisms as opposed to the other things that are related to alcohol. So really just having the willingness to try out new things, to kind of put off that knee-jerk response to drink at the end of the day or drink from a stressful situation or trigger, and just try out new things and keep a light heart about it, and tell yourself, if this doesn't work, then in an hour I will have my drink. But if you try something new every single time that you have that trigger to drink, your coping muscle is going to grow and grow and grow, and before you know it, you're going to be going to those coping tools as opposed to choosing to drink, just because in the long run they're much more effective. You're not getting intoxicated, you're healing yourself, and you are getting stronger yourself emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Again, as I said earlier, I just really feel like alcohol weakened me and crippled me to the point where I just felt like I needed it and I depended on it for everything. And you've got to kind of break free from that yourself and kind of have some motivation and some drive to do it yourself, because it's all too easy just to stay in the trap of relying on it every single day. And so just taking small steps, being really kind to yourself, being flexible with yourself, but taking small steps to really challenge those cravings and those triggers, and try other things, and get yourself out of that habit of relying on alcohol to cope, because the quick fix it's only a temporary solution, and we know that it's not a long-term fix. And the more we can learn to cope with other tools, just the easier and easier it becomes. So again, if you're on this method and feeling like it's challenging and not working for you, take a step back, look at all the ways your relationship to alcohol may be changing, even in really small ways. And then number two, really try out new ways to cope, implement some new coping tools that are not related to alcohol, and just try it out and be committed to trying it out every single time. Hope that's helpful. Thanks for watching. Bye.